Good evening, Bloomfield Hills families. We are so excited to have you here this evening for our Kindergarten Information Night as we welcome the class of 2034. It seems like just yesterday, my own two boys in grades this year, 11th and 8th, were in a similar situation as we were doing Kindergarten Information Night. And I asked my oldest son if he had any advice for you. He didn't have anything to share other than kind of laugh and then lean over, because he's 6'3" now, and give me a hug. And probably in that moment, I realized how quick that actually goes by, because it really, for me, just seems like that was just a couple days ago. I was wandering through, holding his little hand and helping him through Kindergarten Information Night and meeting his teachers that first year. So welcome, I'm Todd Bidlack. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Learning Services, and we're going to quickly begin with just some brief introductions of who we are before we jump into our programming and curriculum offerings for next school year. So first up, we have our superintendent, Mr. Pat Watson.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Pat Watson, Superintendent of Schools. And I'll turn it over to our Director of Elementary Education, Kimberly Hempton.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Kimberly Hempton. I'm the Director of Elementary Education. I'm grateful for you spending time with us this evening. I am also a mom of 3, and I am turning over next to Jennifer Teal.
Hi, I am Jen Teal. I am the principal at Bloomfield Virtual. So glad that you are all with us tonight. I'm the mom of 2 boys, 3rd grade and 6th grade here in Bloomfield Hills Schools. And this is my 21st year, both in education and the district. So been around in Bloomfield a long time and glad to be here. And I am going to pass it off to Nick Russo.
Hi, I'm Nick Russo, principal at Conant. I have 3 children, a freshman in college, a senior graduating high school, and an 8th grader. I agree with Mr. Bidlack that it does go fast, but it definitely has its bonuses having some older children. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, kindergarten parents. I have been in Bloomfield Hills Schools for the last 7 years at Conant, and it is just a great place to have your children and a great place to work. And I will pass it over to Harleen Singh.
Hi, good evening. My name is Harleen Singh. I am the principal of Eastover Elementary. Been in this district for 9 years. I too am a parent of 3 kiddos, one in 3rd grade, one in 5th grade, and a 9th grader, and echo everything that has been said, that it goes by fast. Can't believe I have a child in high school, but definitely remember her first kindergarten night, and lots of mixed emotions, but we're excited that you're here with us tonight. We're excited to share a little bit about our family and all the great things that we have to offer. And I will pass it on to Dr. Mary Hilberry.
Hi, everybody. I am Mary Hilberry. I'm the principal at Lone Pine Elementary, and I've been the principal there for over 17 years now. I also have one son who is currently a 6th grader at West Hills Middle School. He started his career as a student in Bloomfield at the age of 9 weeks in our infant program. Made fast friends with one of the Teal boys in the toddler room and has flourished in our schools. It's a great place to raise your children. And we're excited to share with you tonight all about what they're going to be experiencing in kindergarten and beyond. Next up is the principal at Way Elementary, Dr. Les Sharon.
Hi, I'm Les Sharon. I'm the new principal at Way Elementary. I haven't been there 17 years. It's been 5 days, but this is my 33rd year in education, which really means that the kindergartners I started working with my first year teaching are now about to turn 40. And I can't tell you how bad that makes me feel or how old it does. And I'm really glad to have a new crop of kindergartners starting this year. So really looking forward to working with you and meeting your kids. And this is the first step in a very exciting journey. And I'm glad to share it with you.
So again, welcome. We're really excited that you could be here with us tonight. And probably the first place we're going to start. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Mrs. Hempton, you went, right? I believe so, yes. So you had a chance to meet our elementary principals, as well as some central office staff. And together we really support our teachers and students at the kindergarten level all the way up through 12th grade. And before we begin, I first want to make mention of some of our elementary schools. And Kimberly, were you able to bring up the slideshow for us? And we can probably start right on slide 2. And so in case there's any questions about whether or not we'll have in-person kindergarten, we want to address that one of the very first things. We fully expect that by the time we get to fall, we will be in person 5 days a week with a very typical kindergarten schedule. But in addition to that, now that we've done Bloomfield Virtual, not only will we have our 4 elementary sites where we'll be offering kindergarten, but we will also be offering virtual kindergarten as well. And we'll move into whether or not or some descriptions for Bloomfield Virtual, as well as kind of going through those different orientations. And each one of these elementary schools will have an orientation later on in the school year. So we're going to start where we always start in Bloomfield Hills, which is relationships, which is the cornerstone to everything we do, whether it's the relationship with other peers or with your child's teachers or your relationship with learning. Those are the very first things we're fostering before anything else. So our Director of Elementary Education, Mrs. Hempton, is going to start us off there.
Thank you, Todd. Welcome this evening. As you've heard from each of our members of our administrative team, as we prepared to welcome families tonight, we found ourselves thinking about our own journeys as educators, our own journeys as parents. And my oldest son, who is now a senior, had me thinking about being in the shoes of any first-time kindergarten parents we have watching this evening for myself 13 years ago. It was the brink of a new adventure, and I listened to presenters with both a pit in my stomach and joy in my heart, all at the same time. I hoped that teachers would care for him and see his unique potential, maximize opportunities for him to grow and explore. And other parents would tell me it goes by in the blink of an eye, and boy, were they right. So please soak it in, take a breath, and know that we're looking forward to partnering with you every step of the way. As Mr. Bidlack said, we believe in the importance of relationships, both with our students, but also as an adult community. And our administrative team is going to share a bit tonight about the day in the life of a 5-year-old in Bloomfield Hills Schools. But our ultimate goal is for you to get a closer sense of the caring communities that greet our children every day across this district. As we move through routines of the day, you'll hear how some of these elements come to life within the academic segments. At each of our sites, we have a full day experience, Conant, Eastover, Lone Pine Way, and Bloomfield Virtual. Across the course of the kindergarten day, students will realize a strong balance of both a focus on academic as well as social development. Of course, each of our curricular areas are aligned to Michigan standards. And in addition to the core content areas, our children also explore all kinds of enrichments through Spanish, through music education, through art education, media and informational technology, and physical education. Before and after school is available, and we'll talk at the end of this evening's presentation about how to access those particular services.
Well, I think it's my turn now. I've been, hopefully you can hear me. I've been asked to take you through a little bit about what your kindergartner's experience will be in English language arts at the elementary level. And here at Bloomfield Hills Schools, we use the Reader's Workshop Balanced Literacy approach. So when your kindergartners coming into kindergarten, they may be just starting out on their educational journey and just learning their letters and sounds. Maybe this is just when they're really first time they've ever really had a chance to engage in reading. Some kindergartners come in with already those skills intact. So, our job in balanced literacy is to put together a reading and writing program that meets the needs of the whole class, but also meets the needs of the individual learner. So what you can expect in a balanced literacy program, one of the aspects that we look at is something called the read aloud. And this is really something we may have all experienced when we were in kindergarten. This is when the teacher is reading aloud to the students. And the whole idea of that is during story time, is what Mari Clay used to say, get good reading on the ear. This is why we've always asked you to read with your students at home as they're pre-kindergartners ever since they were born. But we really want them to understand how a reading sounds well. Is it phrased? Is it fluent? Readers, are they dropping their voices at the punctuation marks, at the period, raising their voices at question marks? And it's also a chance for the teacher to work on listening comprehension. So again, the read aloud is just when the teacher's reading, the students are listening, and they're learning what good reading sounds like. The second part, another large part, is the guided reading piece. And you can think of that in a way that every student really has basically 3 reading levels. The frustration level, where the book is so difficult for them that it's going to be too frustrated. They're not going to be able to, the teacher's not going to have opportunities to teach them good teaching points and learning from them. And then the opposite side of that is that if we're teaching reading with a student and the book is too easy and they know almost all or most of the words, students have to come upon an unknown word for a teacher to take advantage of teaching them those self-sustaining reading skills. So in guided reading could be individual or small group, but that by then the teachers assessed all the students, and we're putting the students into groups based upon what their instructional level is. And that's that perfect book where they can read most of it, but there's enough unknown words to have these learning opportunities for the teacher to coach them through what to do when they come upon unknown words and all the strategies that are involved with that as well too. So you have the read aloud, you have the guided reading. Oh, and during the guided reading, the teacher is also taking a learning record and assessing and conferring and keeping individual notes on each student about what their theory of reading is and what they know and what is the next step in teaching them how to be good readers. The other part is the shared reading. And this comes out of New Zealand, the big book process that came out about 20 years ago. But really, that's usually the teacher is reading, the students have a copy, and the book is either used to have the big books or it's projected on the screen. And the teacher and the students are going through the book at the same time. That is really helpful when you have whole class teaching points in your reading curriculum, or you can tie it into the classroom themes. You can tie it into the genres that you're working on. You can tie it into cross-curricular, what they're learning about in science and social studies, and bridge those gaps between. And then the other part is word study, looking at initially letters and sounds and working their way up to clusters and digraphs and diphthongs and all those things. And then sight words and key vocabulary as well too. And in the old days, we used to think writing always came back after reading, but nowadays we'll teach the writer's workshop alongside of it. So like they have a guided reading group, they also have a writing group where they'll be working in groups and individually with the teacher, and the teacher will be conferring and giving them individual teaching points that they're also tracking, as well as shared writing, very visible learning, where we're sharing the students' writing with the entire class, celebrating authors, posting those things up. And then there's the interactive writing piece, where the teacher's going to be modeling specific writing skills for the entire class. And this is all visually displayed throughout the room throughout the year. So as you walk into a kindergarten classroom, you'll be able to visually see their writing and their reading pieces and everything that's on the walls as they progress through the year. So that's just a really quick overview of kind of what a balanced literacy program looks like. And it does tie into our portrait of a learner, especially about inquiry about the world. You've got to be an outstanding reader. You got to be able to engage text and interrogate the world. In order to really be able to do that, these reading skills are really integral. And these students will be coming into kindergarten very early on, learning letters and sounds, but they'll leave fully fledged readers, being able to take books, read, comprehend, and understand. So it's a remarkable year of growth when we look at our portrait of a leader as well.
Thank you. I am, again, Harleen Singh, the principal of Eastover, and I have the privilege of speaking about our math curriculum. I'm excited to do so. My colleagues know I'm very passionate about math, so I will try to keep it short and not to talk too much about math tonight. So in Bloomfield Hills, our math curriculum is a comprehensive math program that is aligned with the Common Core state standards, and the program we use is called Envision 2.0. And as many of you know, if you have older children especially, the way we teach and approach math is very different than how we used to do math. Rather than just doing the math by plugging in formulas or algorithms or just memorizing our math facts, we really encourage our students to focus on the why and the how. And if they understand the process and how solving problems is meaningful, they're able to engage into it more. Students really take opportunities to explore real world applications and see various cross-curricular connections. When we engage students in the why, that truly allows them to explore and find meaning behind doing math. Much of our math instruction follows the math workshop model, and you'll see different components to a math lesson. And we usually start off by a problem-solving opportunity. In this math program that we use, it's called a solve and share. And that's where a problem is posed and students really grapple with finding different ways to solve a real-world problem. After they have that solve and share opportunity, they move on to something called visual learning. And that's where the class watches a video together, and the teacher will pause the video and talk about what they notice, how they can solve a problem, just have conversations with their classmates about what they see and how to kind of work together to solve that problem. After that, the class then experiences some guided learning where students try problems with the support of their teachers and their peers. Once they go through that, then the class breaks up into small groups. And this is truly when students get to engage in the hands-on learnings. They get to utilize manipulatives, they have hands-on activities, they have engineering opportunities. And this is a perfect time for teachers to rotate and support the small groups, whether it's reteaching or some enrichment opportunities. So even at the young age of kindergarten, we really ask our students to think like mathematicians. We engage our students in math discourse where we talk about math. We encourage students to explain their thinking, share different ways of solving problems. And earlier tonight, you heard a little bit about the portrait of a learner and how we embed this within our different content areas. And when we engage in this math discourse, this is really a perfect example of students engaging in respectful dialogue. And it's really quite incredible, even at the young age of kindergarten, to see how capable these students are in really talking about their math and talking about their learning and engaging in this respectful dialogue with one another. So as you can see, our math curriculum really focuses on developing mathematical mindsets, really engaging in hands-on meaningful activities, and really encouraging our students to think like mathematicians. I am going to now pass it on to my colleague, Nick, to talk about science.
Good evening again, everybody. I am Nick Russo, principal at Conant. Before I jump right into science, I think for those first-time kindergarten parents, or those returning after some time, between children entering kindergarten, what I really love about the Bloomfield Hills Schools is the fact that we teach thinking. I've said this since we got here. It's a polar opposite than what people see in a lot of other schools, whether they're private school districts, whatever. We teach thinking, and that's really good segue into my two topics, which are science and specials. In science, when it comes to science, we really want kindergartners to feel like they're scientists. More important than any content is this sense of discovery and inquiry, the learning, of the phenomena of what science really is. In fact, we use a resource called Phenomenal Science, and students are presented with a phenomenon such as maybe two magnets repelling each other, or something as simple as dropping a water balloon, or maybe witnessing an apple being sliced. After seeing this phenomenon, the teacher guides our smallest little scientists with lab coats on and with goggles and the whole experience. Gloves, they're little scientists, and they start their journey of inquiry from there. They look at the phenomenon, they start investigating, they really start diving in. We embrace those curiosities and their theories about how the world and how their world is developed. And that is the scientific journey of kindergarten. Really, like I said before, it's more important than content, is really getting them involved in thinking and inquiring. In specials, every kindergartner will experience every class of our specials one day a week. whether that's in Bloomfield Virtual or in any one of our 4 brick and mortar buildings. All of our specials offer students to look through various lenses and see multiple perspectives through art, Spanish, music, literature, and health. And in all classes, students are greeted by a certified teacher and with an intentional portion of each class that builds relationships. So at the beginning of each class, teachers, just talk to the children. They learn about your child's interests. They open those lines of communication, not only for the teachers to get to know each other, but for the children to know each other, so that the peers start building those relationships as well. Our art program challenges our kindergarten students to experiment with different mediums, to explore and develop their creative processes, and enhance their creativity. In media center, students are exposed to rich, diverse literature, as well as how to begin navigating our digital world. And much like when we were in school, they do have dedicated time to check out books, because we know that a book in the arms of a child is one of the most important things we can offer as we start their learning journey in kindergarten. They learn how to navigate the library as well. So they know where their favorite books are. They know how to look for a nonfiction book should they want to. In music, children will experience beat, rhythm, notes, instrumental as well as vocal music, and they have a chance to play instruments. For those who have older children, I want to just put on pause for now that you don't get a recorder yet, parents, so you don't have to worry about that fact just now. Our physical education focuses on healthy choices, how to work as a team through sports and through physical activities. And in Spanish, your children will experience the culture and language, and will continue this experience until at least grade 5, where then students can choose to continue the Spanish language experience or opt into other language offerings at the middle school level. Our specialist teachers are accessible just like our classroom teachers are, and I would encourage you to build those relationships with them just as we would as a natural consequence for our children being in a kindergarten classroom. You build a relationship with that teacher with constant communication. I would encourage you to reach out to those specialist teachers as well, because they play an integral part of really inspiring and igniting some passion in our specials areas for your kids. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Mary Hilberry.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. So I'm going to talk a little bit about social studies. And in kindergarten, the social studies curriculum is pretty comprehensive. You as parents will probably be amazed to see how much they learn. Specifically, we focus the study of history, geography, civics, economics, and community, all through the lens of myself and others in kindergarten. So it's really very much about understanding the community that they're a part of and what their role is and what the roles of others are around them. So throughout the course of the year, the children will be engaged in active learning and hands-on learning around the concepts of what does the past mean? What does the present mean? What does the future mean? You might see your child have a project where they have to imagine their future selves, which is definitely a keeper that you will be putting in the scrapbook for years to come. They'll be learning about spatial awareness as a bridge to understanding future geography lessons and math skills. So they'll be practicing words like above and below and next to and alongside and so forth. Human environment interaction, which is how we take care of the environment, how we interact with the environment, how we keep the environment healthy. Our rights and responsibilities as members of a community, and that might look like classroom essential agreements in the beginning of the year and beginning to understand what it means to be a citizen and be a responsible citizen. Wants and needs, they're actually going to be learning a little bit about data analysis and forming opinions on public issues. So you're going to have some opinionated little 5 and 6 year olds around the dinner table this coming year. So all of these aspects of the curriculum really carry through in K-12 as we focus again on some of the attributes of the portrait of a learner, including understanding multiple perspectives and realizing that the way we view things is unique based on our history, our experience, our culture, and understanding that everybody else has a unique perspective as well. And also taking responsible action, which in the world of a kindergartner can mean a simple thing related to taking care of their community, being responsible with their belongings, taking turns, being kind and empathetic with their friends, and so forth. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about really what we do as a staff in a district community to create a sense of belonging for all of our learners. And when we say that, we really mean that as a staff in our kindergarten program and beyond, we really focus on how to support the whole child. School isn't just about academics. It's also about physical and emotional health. It's about creating an environment where students can thrive and feel successful in all kinds of different ways. So that might look like specific social emotional learning opportunities in the classroom. We know that kindergartners come into school not knowing how to handle every social situation that comes their way. They're going to make mistakes. That's how we learn. We support them in their growth through explicit lessons on social dynamics and how to handle conflict. We work on maintaining healthy relationships by talking about how to make something better when harm is done. How do you make your friend feel better? How do you apologize appropriately, and so forth. We also talk a lot about physical health, and taking kids out for recess is certainly part of that. But recess is also a big part about learning how to manage oneself in the unstructured situation of outdoor play, and how to handle conflict or issues on the playground in a constructive way. Learning how to use their words, for example, is a very common refrain in kindergarten. Our goal is to take kids where they're at and bring them forward in that skill set as they continue through K-12. In addition to all of that, we also have a significant amount of academic support services available in our schools, and that ranges from general ed intervention services for our students to a full spectrum of special education services for students who need that additional support. But our overall goal is to really make you and your students feel like you are part of the Bloomfield Hills family. We care about your students. We want to partner with you, and we want your kids to have the best experience they can in our schools. And we welcome you as new members of our family. And with that, I am going to hand it off to Jen Teal.
Thanks so much, Mary. So I feel really fortunate. I get to talk about two of our gems in this district that are near and dear to my heart. The first of which is our school farm. And if you have not had the chance yet to head over to our school farm, it is truly a fantastic and magical place, no matter how old you are. And our farm is one of two fantastic experiential learning extensions that we have in Bloomfield Hills in our community. And over at the farm, as you can see, we have ponies and we have turkeys and rabbits and goats and all the fun animals that kindergartners just smile and light up when they see. But more than that, we have a program there that invites our kiddos into that space as an extension of their learning in the classroom. And it's built around those curricular lessons that you've heard my colleagues talk about. So when you talk about what it means to think like a scientist, you have your kindergartners who have the opportunity to go to the farm and to think about why the turkey, believe it or not, burps. The great farm hands make the turkeys, they inflate their chests and press on them and they burp. And the kindergartners just think it's the most wonderful thing and funniest thing that's ever happened. But more than that, we're really getting them to think about why that might happen and to ask questions and to make a hypothesis and to think about what they're experiencing. I know another favorite at the farm is that in the fall season, there's a wagon ride and a pumpkin patch, and your kindergartners will get to pick out a pumpkin and ride on the wagon and get to explore the farm. And And those experiences grow with them over time. So each year, our students have at least one opportunity to go to the farm with their grade level, and each year is a different experience. The farm staff is astounding at developing these really unique experiences that grow with our kiddos through their years in Bloomfield Hills. The second location that we have, again, if you haven't been there, I highly recommend heading over there, is our E.L. Johnson Nature Center. And our Nature Center is another fantastic place for those extended connections. I think some of the favorites, there's a great spot, a log cabin that we fondly call the Sugar Shack. And kiddos get to experience what it means to tap the trees and get maple syrup. And they get to walk through the trails and look at the nests that the birds have made. There's a beautiful lake, and they get to look at all the fish who are swimming in the lake and make all kinds of hypotheses about what the ducks might be up to and what the fish are thinking out on the pond. And, this picture, I think, is really emblematic of what it feels like to be in those spaces and to take their learning beyond the classroom. Lots of smiles, and families definitely get lots of forewarning to bundle up when we go in the winter months. But as is no surprise to you, the kiddos don't mind at all. They love being out in those spaces and exploring their environment and building community with one another in those spaces. They're really special places to us here in Bloomfield Hills. I will pass it over to Kimberly Hempton to talk a little bit about all of the options that you have here in Bloomfield Hills.
Thank you, Jen. Each of the experiences that you've heard about, either at the Bowers Farm or the E.L. Johnson Nature Center, in our classrooms in each of those neighborhood elementary schools, each of those experiences that have been described here for you tonight are available within Bloomfield Hills Schools in a variety of ways. And we're going to highlight some of those options in these next slides. And so I want to take a moment to walk through from an overview stance, what you might hear more about upcoming. Bloomfield Virtual Kindergarten, you see there in the center. Bloomfield Hills Schools has had a kindergarten through 5th grade virtual school in the 2021 school year, and we're extremely proud to continue that opportunity in the coming fall. Enrollment spaces within Bloomfield Virtual might be somewhat limited in the fall, but additional information will be coming forward later this spring. Of course, as Mr. Bidlack kicked us off, in-person kindergarten will be offered at each of our 4 campuses across the district this fall. And then in addition, we're extremely excited to expand our early childhood offerings with a developmental kindergarten, which will take place this fall of 21 at Eastover Elementary School. We expect that we may have the opportunity to expand into another developmental kindergarten classroom should enrollment indicate the need. We're excited to tell you more about that upcoming here this evening as well. For each of these programs, children must be 5 years old by September 1st, 2021. That is the threshold that our Department of Education sets for entrance into kindergarten. But Mrs. Gentile is going to tell us a little bit more about Bloomfield Virtual and the rich learning that has been occurring there this year, as well as in the upcoming fall.
Thank you very much. This, as Mrs. Humpton said, this has been a really exciting year for us to explore what virtual learning might be like for our kinders all the way up through our 5th graders. And that question around, is virtual learning right for my child? Only really you have the answer to that, but we're hoping that we can provide you with a couple of details that help you to answer that or begin to answer that. And we, of course, look forward to getting to meet your family and know your family and help you figure out where the very best spot is for your child for the fall. At Bloomfield Virtual, when we are talking about our kindergartners, of course, it's really important that they have a home learning coach at home, an adult who is there to support them with time management and learning how to organize all of their supplies and how to get online and interact with the teacher. And so it really is a partnership in a way that's maybe a little bit different from the in-person experience. So this is great for families who are looking for a slightly different approach for kindergarten. The expectations mirror everything that you've heard about with in-person teaching and learning, and especially in terms of academics. Obviously, the way that we deliver content and the way that we build community and interact with our students is a little bit different, since we're doing that through the screen instead of with the kiddos in the classroom. But we do have, obviously, barring the safety concerns along the way, we have opportunities to go to places like the farm and the nature center, and to meet up to see classmates, so that we can also from time to time see those people face to face. In Bloomfield Hills, we do provide a device for each student who's enrolled at Bloomfield Virtual. Our kinders get iPads, which they learn to manipulate disturbingly quickly, and they'll probably be running circles around everybody within the first month. And one of the great assets at Bloomfield Virtual is that because we remain partnered with the home buildings, it means that your child, even if they're attending Bloomfield Virtual, can experience things like sports and clubs and student organizations with their neighborhood schoolmates. So it gives a little bit of both of those worlds, and we're glad to have those various options. Another little difference, as you'll see on the next slide with Bloomfield Virtual, is that we have some opportunity to do things that are a little bit different. So you'll see on the left, this was a day that our kindergartners were cooking together, because of course they're in their homes, and the teacher hosted an event. You can see that was a multicolored pancake day. I'm not sure if you would have wanted to eat all of the multicolored pancakes, but it's a great way for families to stay engaged and really connected. And then on the right there, you can see that it also gives us an opportunity to hear more about our families and their cultures and all of the things they bring to Bloomfield Hills Schools. And we get to be in people's homes a little bit more, which has been really exciting. So we look forward to offering you a chance to see our in-person buildings, and also to see what it's like at Bloomfield Virtual later this spring, so that you can begin to make those decisions for your kiddos. And I will go ahead and pass that off to Kimberly again.
Thank you so much. So the other option that was mentioned, and that I would like to detail for you just a little bit here, is developmental kindergarten. And as Jen said, very similarly with Bloomfield Virtual, these are really about the right matches for the learner and their progress and your family, and what feels like the right match or the next step in their learning journey. And so we really encourage you, if you're considering developmental kindergarten, to reach out and have a contact if your child might currently be in preschool, or reach out to the principal of your child's neighborhood school, reach out to myself. We'd be happy to have some conversation with you about what you are thinking through as you recognize your child's growth at this very important time in their life. Developmental kindergarten is kindergarten, but it's also set up at a bit of a reduced pace. It's preparing students for the rigor of a full kindergarten curriculum in the following year. So it is that extra bit of growth time, a place where students explore, connect, and create. The program that will be preparing students not only with early literacy and early mathematical skills, the science exploration that was discussed earlier, in a more play-based way than you might see in a traditional kindergarten classroom. Although we have play throughout our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classrooms as I move through the district. So I don't want to give you the impression that play is uniquely developmental kindergarten, but we do know that the more confidence children bring to the learning engagement, the more practice that they have with embedding things in real life context, we know that not only builds their independence as learners, but also their confidence as they explore some of the fuller reading, writing, and mathematical workshops that were described to you today in relation to kindergarten. Those also take place in a developmental kindergarten classroom, but with slightly less duration, right? We've got lots of balance between movement and early skills. And so taking that approach to thinking about the right place for your child, we encourage you to reach out with any questions that you might have. This is slated this fall at Eastover Elementary for our first section of developmental kindergarten. And I know that Mrs. Singh and myself are eager to chat with you about any specific questions you may have around this particular program. And as was mentioned, we look to our enrollment and the community interest to see where this may continue to expand beyond Eastover. So that is a bit about developmental kindergarten. And it brings me into a space that does sound fairly similar to what I was just describing about developmental kindergarten, and that's the idea of experiential learning. We really hope that as you think about your child and their next step forward into a kindergarten experience, that you're thinking right now already about ways that learning becomes very alive and visual to them, whether that's at the grocery store or in the park or at a nature center. As your child's first teacher, there are countless ways that we involve them each day in what learning looks, feels, and sounds like. And so we're grateful for your partnership. We're looking forward to continuing that partnership in years to come. And as we think about partnering and preparing for kindergarten with some of those questions that you may have, we know that each of our buildings will have an orientation where we'll invite you in for a much more detailed building-specific look at kindergarten. But in the meantime, we know that between now and May, there are quite a few weeks here and then a summer ahead of us. And so what we would love to underscore this evening is that this preparing for kindergarten is really all about your child's confidence. Kindergarten is about growing independence. It's about a joy for learning, and the big smile on that slide really says it all. But when we think about practicing certain kinds of skills, that's really quite specific to the child that you have with you at home. I know that for one of my children, that was really about emphasizing taking turns and cooperation and recognizing that others in the room or on the carpet, needed a turn as well. Whereas for my other daughter, that just came easily and naturally, and maybe she needed a little more reinforcement at not getting frustrated, emotionally frustrated at not being able to manage her coat on her own or find her belongings in a way that wouldn't keep her from what she needed to be attending to in the classroom. So knowing your child, some of these things might come right to the forefront as things that they're eager to engage in each day, whether that's counting or looking for patterns in things, recognizing colors and shapes. But really what we would like to emphasize with you are all the things related to play that are not only in your home, but in the community around us in terms of celebrations of learning. When young people engage with Legos or Play-Doh or sorting activities, that's really strengthening those small fingers that help them sustain the rigor of a 30-minute writer's workshop, let's say. And when I talk about a 30-minute writer's workshop, that's going to include a lot of things like telling the story out loud, sharing it with a partner, drawing pictures and adding details to those pictures, and then actually putting print to the page. But the time with the Lego and the Play-Doh that help make those fingers strong are what are help building that foundation for our early writers. Singing in the car, finding things that rhyme, spending time, as I said, at the grocery store, at the library, things that are a part of your everyday world in which you can just ask your child, please, tell me about that. Tell me more about that. Why do you think that? What makes you say so? And really listening to what it is they have to say. And we know that the more that they are engaging with the world around them, the more we're sparking their curiosity as well as their confidence when it comes to the more academic and social skills that kindergarten will bring. As Mr. Russo so eloquently said, I believe Dr. Sharon as well, I think we might have heard it across the whole evening, there is nothing more outstanding than a book in your child's hand. So reading to your child every day has an incredible impact on their success. So please don't underestimate the power of a great story or two each day. Some of the logistics of the kindergarten day. We want to make sure that our children are arriving to school safely. And so if you're in a transportation area, an area far enough from school where transportation comes into your neighborhood, you'll notice that there are some community and group stops for our children in grades kindergarten through third or fourth grade in the elementary building. And the details around that transportation information will be tied down for you much closer to the start of school. But yes, transportation is a big part of the kindergarten experience. In fact, there will most likely be a bus at your orientation evening. I can't promise that because we're working really hard to get all of our families in person this spring for our orientation. And I certainly don't want to promise that the yellow school bus will be in the lot, but we know that kids are really excited about that opportunity to ride a bus. And sometimes as families at home, maybe we're a little more trepidatious about it, but as much as you can support that first day routine, yep, off we go on the bus, the more confident your youngster feels. And that's just the way things are on a school day. So more information to come about transportation and our hot lunch program available at each of our neighborhood campuses, as well as before and after school care. And registration information for this will be coming to your way later this spring. As with that information or our enrollment process, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll have some details for you at the end of the slide presentation this evening for questions and contact. But to enroll in kindergarten, first, you're going to decide, is that in person at one of our 4 elementary buildings? Is that Bloomfield virtual kindergarten? Or is that possibly developmental kindergarten? And once you have made that decision with your family, you're going to go ahead and complete the online enrollment process. We're uploading documents this spring. And so that whole process is open right now at bloomfield.org/kindergarten. And that program choice can also be adjusted, at this point in time. So please don't let the choice hold you up from getting documents uploaded and getting your enrollment process started. We know that there are many an item to account for in a kindergarten registration. And so if you go ahead and get that process started, our enrollment office will reach out for anything that might be outstanding or that they need to have further conversation with you about. But we're excited to have moved that to a completely online process here this spring. And the kindergarten orientation is scheduled for May 11th, 2021. And as I mentioned, our goal is to be able to gather in person for that event. And so, of course, we'll be looking locally at our healthcare partners and any current state of things in terms of making the safest choice that we can. But more information will be following shortly about that particular day. But May 11th, please mark it on your calendar. We also offer tuition admission for families who are not Bloomfield residents. At bloomfield.org/enroll, you'll see some enrollment instructions, and the application gets submitted. There is an approval for that process, and then tuition annually is $12,000. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to our enrollment office. And thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for being here, because as Jane Hall tells us, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents, and your participation in your child's education absolutely makes a difference. We have an email communications option for you. We also have the ability to text kindergarten to 248-230-2879, or you can call us directly at 341-6328. That concludes our slide presentation. And I'm going to bring our groups back. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Again, I just want to quickly thank everybody for joining us. And I'm here at in Eastover's Media Center. And before we show our final promotional video, I just want to ensure everybody that as kindergartners, I know the anxiousness that parents feel, but you'll be dropping them off with adults that will love your children as if they are our own, and with their friends in their classrooms. And even though we've been navigating a global pandemic during that time, our district has also been future focused. And what is very exciting about this kindergarten class is they will have an exceptional opportunity to attend their elementary school from kindergarten through 5th grade. And we will have 2 state-of-the-art middle schools for them to attend during grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. So it's an incredible time to be a new student coming into Bloomfield Hills Schools. There's a lot to look forward to. Again, thank you. And whether you've been taking notes, or if there's only one note that you jot down tonight or enter into your phone, please make sure that you have recorded May 11th from 9:30 to 11 o'clock as our orientation day for those elementary buildings. And as Mrs. Hempton suggested, we certainly hope and are confident at this point we'll be able to do that in person, but more information on whether or not we'll be able to logistically pull that off should be available as we approach April. So once we know enough information and things look safe to do so, we are certainly hopeful that we can do that in person. Again, that's May 11th from 9:30 to 11. We hope to see you there for that orientation. Thank you very much for joining us.
When I come to school, I feel inspired and I feel happy with my friends, and I don't really want to leave.
I feel like the goals for everyone is to be like the best person you can be, try to get the best grades as possible, have the best behavior you can.
It's just like the environment around us. It makes you a better person.
I think what's special about Bloomfield Hills Schools is a sense of community.
The schools look really friendly, which is pretty easy to feel comfortable.
No matter where you come from, who you are as a person, you just feel included.
At the end of the day, like, it's our home, and I think all the teachers treat the school and the kids in the school like a home and like a family.
They don't just care if you get an A or if you get a B. They actually care about your well-being. They want you to excel as a student, but at the same time, they're not holding your hand.
They want you to understand why you want to do this.
Our classes aren't okay, sit and learn. It's very interactive.
We're in groups and we're doing partner work.
The level of care and the level of learning and the level of creativity has been outstanding in ways that I couldn't have even imagined.
They really encourage you to step outside your box and do other things that you wouldn't be used to or work with other people that you wouldn't be used to.
Before I went here, I never really thought of being an engineer, but I had the chance to do tech, and I realized that was a lot of fun.
Before I took my Intro to Agriculture class, I didn't know anything about being outside.
We have a farm for the Bloomfield Hills Schools.
Being outside with animals just opens your mind.
At the Nature Center, we see animals, trees, leaves. We're focusing on how animals adapt to their environment.
Our district keeps super up to date with technology.
We're working with equipment that they work with in the real world. It's state of the art, it's top notch, and I think that that's helped me become very prepared for my future. We here have a very unique opportunity of being able to harness our individual talents.
I don't think most schools have radio stations, do they?
Nature Center and the Bowers Farm.
Investment Club.
BHS TV News.
Global Champions.
Jazz Band.
Water Sport Alliance.
Black Student Alliance.
Indian Student Alliance.
Gym, music, art, soccer, football, baseball, swimming, volleyball, and diving.
Future Farmers of America.
Mathathlon.
Student Ambassadors Program.
Cross country and track.
Sailing team.
Environmental club.
Theater.
Food club.
Women's Empowerment Club.
The clubs get you with other people that you wouldn't normally hang out with.
These outlets have kind of helped me decide the career path that I want to go into. I do want to be a broadcast journalist.
I want to be a doctor.
I was thinking of becoming an investment banker.
I want to major in animal science and eventually have my own dairy farm.
I really can't decide if I want to be a professional soccer player or a teacher.
Whatever you want to do, you're important. You have so many things to be able to actually become what you want to be and be able to love your job and love your life and still be successful.
Bloomfield Hills Schools have really developed me as a learner and a person.
They push you and push you and push you to be the best possible person.
It's all about building your character to be able to go out in life and do good things.
I love Bloomfield Hills Schools. I love Bloomfield Hills Schools. It's really fun.
It's a really good learning community, and it's a lot of fun.